What is up, party people? Happy Monday. I have the pleasure of going live with Kenny Lipton, Coach Kenny, and we're essentially going to be talking about fitness as an extension of you, essentially redefining your approach to fitness, understanding that there is a wide array of activities and modalities to choose from when it comes to just kind of like overall expressing how you want to move your body. And it doesn't necessarily have to be rooted in extremes. And in fact, it probably shouldn't be rooted in extremes. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for Kenny to kind of pop in the chat, and I'll invite him into the live and we'll get this party started. He was asking me a little bit about the setup, so I don't know if he's never done a live before or what the deal is there, but I am going to invite him in. Join us. So bear with me there on that. Sounds like he's a new bird to the live extreme, so I always like have Instagram up on my phone, but then also on my laptop because I want to like message the people to be like, "Hey, get the fuck in the live." Kenny, acting like a rookie, man. Swear to God, he probably just ghosted me. All right, I sent the request like 6 times. Oh,
Oh,
there you
hello,
are.
hello. Oh my God, finally. Oh God.
Finally. Have you
Yeah.
ever done an IG live before?
Oh God, it's been a long time, I'll be honest with you. I usually go live on TikTok. So it's been I,
You're a man of the talk.
I am. Yeah, I haven't gone live in a long time on Instagram, but yeah, this is pretty cool. It's been a very long
That's
time. Yeah.
hilarious. How long have you been on the talk?
Oh God. I've been talking for shit. I would say for the past 8 months now.
8 months.
So
No kidding.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's a lot of people who need help on there. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy. I'll be honest with you.
I
Yeah.
believe it. I'll be honest. I've never downloaded the TikTok. I've never had that app on my phone. It's not something I ever wanted to get into because I already think my Instagram usage is already pretty heinous. And I was like, I can't have one more thing to like, ooh, shiny. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like redirecting my focus to Instagram. But one of my posts, like, dude, it went viral like fucking herpes or crabs. I mean, like over 2,000 people liked this, over almost 1,000 reshares, and like I got a lot of people like following me, and so I would like look at their page and stuff like that. And you talk about misinformation. I was like, dude, I thought we left this back in like 2019, but nope, she's still relevant.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Some of the conversations I have on my lives, it's pretty scary. People are very like I talk about carbs a lot. Like that's my basis of just
Yeah.
trying to help people literally learn about basic nutrition, and there's just a lot of just fear around it, a lot of fear around lifting, and it's pretty wild. But for the most part, it's pretty mindless too. Like just scrolling, I try to stay off of it because it's like a black hole. Otherwise, yeah, yeah,
I love that. I think that actually is a pretty good segue though into our topic of kind of like redefining fitness because I know a lot of people like they want so desperately to gain this definition of, oh, you're the health and fitness person, you're healthy, you're fit, you're active, and it is definitely like a badge of honor. It is, it feels good to feel good. And especially as someone from my background who was morbidly obese, like I took a lot of pride in being like the healthy, fit, active girl. But me being the type of person that I am when it comes to like type A tendencies, it's like I kind of swung to spectrums, right? And I never really found like quote unquote balance or a happy medium because either I was like deeply anorexic or I wanted to be like the bodybuilder, right? So again, still opposite ends and extremes. So how do you help your clients kind of like goal setting and helping them to have like healthy boundaries and expectations, especially if they just want to be like healthy.
Yeah, that's a great question. Ultimately, my, I guess main philosophy is that fitness should be an extension of who you are as a
Mhm.
person, as opposed to it completely taking over your life. And granted, this is completely nuanced to the individual. So, like, for example, if you're a bodybuilder and you actually love the lifestyle of it and that is your goal, then that's in alignment with you. But if
Yeah.
you're someone who is just trying to build muscle, lose fat, just get healthier in general, the approach that you may take could be completely different. So it's one of those things where, at least for those that first get into this, you might get the feeling that you have to revamp everything about who you are as a person, almost like erasing who you are as a person. And I don't think that's necessary. I think really small changes, very micro changes that still allow you to enjoy life, but still kind of guide you to the right direction, I think is the most important aspect. So whether it's just, eating healthier in general, or maybe going to the gym more consistently, or perhaps, working on your general
Mm.
mindset, there's just very, usually the small changes make the biggest outcomes.
Oh, absolutely.
So
And they're usually the most sustainable as well. And I'm glad you talked about kind of like the mindset and the mental component, because that's how you get enough courage to make those micro adjustments. Because how many times do we talk to potential clients or even like our own clients that we're helping, and they have a really hard time giving up control. And so it's like kind of like tugging, it's like a battle rope. And it's something where it's like, okay, well, what are you telling yourself that's gonna happen that's bad, that makes you still do these habits and tendencies that are not in alignment? And a lot of it is rooted in fear and the unknown, because that's scary, versus even if they know that what they're doing is bad for them or goes against what they want, maybe their definition of health, it's familiar, so therefore it's safe. So a lot of the times, like in the beginning, it is those micro adjustments, especially for the lifestyle gen pop, that they come to you to, yes, I want to drop fat, or I want to build muscle, or maybe if it's a functional health, I want to feel better. And in reality, it's like, in order to be healthy, you have to first kind of understand and unpack, well, what's first making you sick?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and health. It's funny that you mentioned that because aesthetics, however you want to define this, it's usually a result of being healthy. So as long as
Yes.
you take care of your health, your body is going to ultimately respond. But it also comes down to mindset too, and your perception of what is actually, good fitness approach. And so depending on, where you get your social media, or I should say fitness media from, whether it's like from TikTok like we were talking about, or, just in general, those influences could really have a deep impact. I know it had an impact on me when I was first starting, where like literally when I was first starting the gym, I had no idea, what I was getting myself into. And my expectations were at the time I had no idea, but they were unrealistic. And I had to learn the hard way. But it is really kind of a combination of that fear, like you mentioned, because the fear is that, well, if you've never done this before and you have a goal, but you haven't achieved that goal, the steps to get there, you're basically venturing like Frodo into Mordor. You have no idea what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They went through a bunch of shit. Like Sam and Frodo were. I mean, they ultimately made it, but the ultimate journey was not linear. It was very much up and down, and typically that is the way it happens. But it's through those struggles that you ultimately learn more about yourself and learn about what is actually sustainable.
Yeah,
So
you opened up a can of worms there, so now I'm going to use that Lord of the Rings lore analogy. If we look at the topic of an extension of ourselves, look at the journey. Both Sam and Frodo had essentially the same journey, minus the fact that Frodo carried the ring, which obviously carried with that a lot of anxiety and evil. But then you look how it ended. Sam moved on with his life. He had a very happy, healthy life. He had a wife. He got married. He got two kids. What did
yeah.
Frodo do? Frodo just essentially like accepted that he was no longer meant for this world and just kind of like gave up because of all the shit that he experienced. So you definitely like you picked something there on me. I was like, Lord of the Rings, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I love Lord of the Rings. It's one of my favorite movies. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because
Mhm.
Sam, I guess in a way, accepted himself, right, and
Yeah.
accepted that he went through struggles, went through the same type of thing that Frodo did, but he ultimately allowed himself to grow and learn from it. But Frodo kept those things kind of held tight. And so if you had bad experiences in the past, like for example, tying this with like carbs, for instance, where if you have a fear of carbs, because maybe you've been told that carbs make you fat, right? And maybe they deliver more fat gain,
Mhm.
you can inadvertently create this negative relationship with food. And
Mhm.
so this dichotomy between what's bad and what's good, if you're thinking in this context of it is only good, it is only bad, without the context of how does this actually affect me, if you don't allow yourself to unpack those things, you can basically fall into this trap where, kind of like Frodo, he just kind of carried it for the rest of his life
Mhm.
and ultimately just never was able to move on, which is very unfortunate. But
Absolutely.
it's a common narrative for a lot of people.
It
Yeah.
really is. And I like to use myself always as a case study, not because I want to talk about myself, but because I am human. And when you are a coach, you know this, your athletes, your clients, people on TikTok, people on Instagram, they look up to us as leaders and as a source of information, which we don't take for granted.
Yeah.
But the reason why we know so much is likely because we've experienced so much and we have failed a lot in our own journey. And we wanted to help people not make the same mistakes and failures that we experience, especially because with those failures, yes, comes growth, but also comes a lot of baggage as well. And to put
Yeah.
myself kind of like on the hot seat, like when we talk about an extension of yourselves, me being morbidly obese and hating who I saw in the mirror and hating who I was when I did the drastic like diets and over exercising and under eating, like you talking about being afraid of a carb, I was afraid of food.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to fucking eat because food equaled bad because bad was fat. I
Yeah.
was fat, therefore I am bad. So when I would stick skinny at 125 pounds, literally lost my half my body weight in a year, I was just as miserable and just as angry and just as full of self hatred because it was still an extension of who I was. I wasn't actually willing to think about what was going on mentally, and my why, which I know you talk about with your clients, was shit. My why was to just receive that external validation, which is why I took it to the extremes.
Yeah.
And when you do things to please others and to receive snaps and claps from other people, yeah, that might be nice, maybe to get you going. Like, there's nothing really wrong with a little bit of motivation, but if that's all you have to hang on to, it's you're not gonna like the end result. I know I did.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great, yeah. I mean, it's funny because speaking of the why, and I think it's really important. You have to ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Like, really, like, why are you doing this? Because fitness and health, it's not going to ever go away. I mean, it's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And there is this kind of common narrative where there's this end goal, and a lot of people tend to, at least for me in the beginning, similar to you, I actually had a pretty negative relationship with food as well. I actually did fear carbs. I feared food for the most part. I remember actually going to the UCLA library and checking out like six books and being like, and they were all six different diet books, and I read
Yep.
every single one, and every single one said this is the best. I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? Because I have no idea what to do. But it was until I ask myself, like, why am I actually doing this?
Mhm.
Why do I want to get healthier? That is when, and maybe perhaps for you too, Ash, I started to actually realize that, oh, I can start to do things that I enjoy. My happiness does actually matter here. And the happiness extends into health and fitness because the mind and body, it's one and the same. And so it's pretty interesting because if you have a goal that's very, there's nothing wrong with this, but surface level, right? And you may not realize it's surface level, like you want abs or something like that. Once you get to that end goal, like, is that it? Like,
Yeah.
what happens after that? Like,
Mhm.
you like you're still alive. You're like you still have to maintain this thing. So you know, you got to you got to think deeper. Like, you want to do this for your kids? Do you want to do this for longevity purposes? Like, what exactly is going on? But I think it's until you get down to that reason, that really deep, resounding why, it's going to be something that you rely on motivation. You rely on those external factors. And if that external factor or motivation doesn't come to you, that's when you basically hit a roadblock. But the other solution is that you have drive.
Yeah.
You actually have this internal driving thing that's keeping you going. And that's powerful. I mean, that's literally invaluable. So whether you have a coach or not, like, you still need that. Like, you need
Abs-
that. Otherwise, you will stop short at some point.
Exactly. And I know, especially since it's kind of popular, since it's January still, it's like, well, how many people already failed their New Year's resolution of trying to be healthy because they took the all or nothing black and white mentality where it's like, everything in their fridge and freezer and cupboard and pantry, they just threw out because that was the old them, right? Now it's the new me. They
Mm,
bought
yeah.
fucking kale or eating raw kale. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm a health and fitness girly. Raw kale is disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
don't like, get like even in a smoothie, that shit is
It
heinous. So don't have.
is.
But it's like they got so
Excuse me.
excited because they dreamed better for themselves. And then when the newness wore off and their old self and their old comforts were screaming at them, it was so easy to cave. And it's something where a lot of the times when I have athletes that want to step on stage, like they want to be competitive bodybuilders, whether it's maybe a bucket list item or they're like, no, I want to do this. It's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. But I want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because if you're just doing it for external validation, to look good in a sparkly bikini, to see your abs or to see lines or whatever, it's not going to carry you far when you are left by yourself with your thoughts. Like it needs to mean something to you. And we also have to think of long term longevity. Like, is this something that's reasonable for you financially, spiritually, mentally? Because you do give up a decent part of your life to really go all in with bodybuilding. But there's nothing wrong with letting fitness and health take up maybe a smaller percentage of your pie chart that you allocate in your life. Like, I feel like a lot of people just want 100% health and fitness. And while, yes, your health is absolutely your responsibility as an adult, especially if you're going to have children, to raise them to be healthy. But you don't have to have 0 to 100 mentality with your fitness and aesthetic goals and competitive goals, especially if, like, thinking long term, okay, well, there's going to be one day where you're going to be hanging up your heels or your trunks. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Mm.
what then? Which is something that you were talking about making sure this is sustainable and making sure you have a power enough why to make sure you continue on. Because let's say you compete or you get your six-pack abs, like you said, you're still alive. Like, what else are you going to do with your time? Like, is that it? Like, are you like Frodo where you're just signing off and you're going to go on your boat and never be seen again? Or are you going to be like Sam? I'm telling you, Lord of the Rings, man, you hit it. You hit a bell with me. Or you could be like Sam, where he like has a fucking life afterward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because so I'm a former, I guess they can call me like a former athlete, and that mentality where it's all or nothing. Like I was a former cyclist. That's my sport. As a road cyclist, and it was live or die. Like I actually had the mindset of if I die on this bike, I die on this bike. Like I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And at the time, I was single. I had really no one else in my life. It was my own life. And then I met Sarah, and she's obviously I'm married to her. I've been married to her for 10 years now, but that's when my life changed. And that's the thing, life can change, right?
Yeah,
And so your priorities can change, but that does not mean that you should give up on yourself, right?
sure.
So, like, my mentality is still very much like I have that still aggressive mentality, but I apply it in such a way where in the gym, like, I really focus on the quality of the workouts.
Yes.
And so, if we're trying to, just generally, just build muscle, lose fat, be healthy, whatever it may be, there is still that adaptation needs to happen. And it's not just a physical adaptation; it's a mental adaptation as well, and even perhaps an emotional adaptation because there is this belief mindset that happens all as you're working out. So physically, you're not actually growing in the gym, but mentally and emotionally, you absolutely are. Like you're actually trying to create signals with each other, emotional ties with your actions. And so if you go into the gym or whatever modality you're going to do, and you have this belief where, hey, I can do this, and you actually give it your all,
Mhm.
like you still have other aspects of your life, right? You can be a dad, you can be a mom, but in that moment, like it is all you, like that's your thing. But it's very interesting because if you let that fitness, at least in an unsustainable way, take over everything, right, that's where it can be very hard to sustain. And so you don't want to give up those things, those other things that are going on in your life, but rather it's more so quality over quantity. And it's it's very fascinating. It's a very fascinating thing because ultimately you can still have that mindset, that killer mindset, but it doesn't mean that it has to apply to everything in your life. Like you have to give up everything. Because I was very much like that, where cycling, it literally was my life. I remember actually, funny story. I met Sarah's family for the first time. Her mom had this like generational recipe for like Italian food spaghetti, and I guess it was passed down from like great grandpa to now Phyllis, which is her mom. And I was scared shitless to eat spaghetti, like carbs in general. So I was literally toying with it. And she finally asked me, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is going on? And I had to explain to her, and I just had this whole moment where I was like, I have a literal fear of carbs. And I told her it was tied to my performance. And at the time, I had no idea what I was talking about because I literally thought that carbs were bad for me, even though I could have actually benefited from it.
Oh
But
yeah.
it was this kind of dichotomy where it's bad or good without realizing that, oh shit, like I could have actually enjoyed my time with my in-laws, my future in-laws, without realizing at the time, without having fitness, at least my perception of fitness, completely take over it. And so it was a very hard lesson, but a good lesson at the same time.
I'm
Yeah.
sure not only were you scared shitless to like eat spaghetti, but then scared shitless because of your shame too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
like we don't want to admit that we're scared of spaghetti. Like if you think about it right now, if I had a bowl of pasta and I was like, boo, like you're not gonna scream, but like mentally when you look at a bowl of pasta and when you were with your future in-laws there, it's the anxiety of I'm gonna do horrible when I cycle next. My performance is gonna be ruined. Everything that I built this far is gonna be ruined. Maybe I'm fears that I'm gonna get fat or this is gonna slow down my legs. Like you take your fear and literally like spaghetti, it unravels. It's a mess. And it's just so much anxiety, so much fear. And then when you are vulnerable enough to admit that to someone that you care about, then that's even worse because you're afraid of being judged by them because like to her it's spaghetti, it's like it means everything to her in fact because it's a family recipe, and when
Yeah.
you're not enjoying it with her family, I'm sure she was fucking pissed.
Yeah. 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 And I actually kind of, I made a memory. It was a definitely a core memory, a very, very anxiety ridden core memory, but it was also, a potential memory I could have made a lot better
Mhm,
if I just allowed myself to basically enjoy it and also expand my knowledge on what was actually healthy. And
mhm,
so it's very interesting to kind of get locked in with what you think is right and what you think is wrong, and that dichotomy again of right versus wrong.
mhm.
In fitness, it's very nuanced. It's extremely nuance driven. And so it's funny because and I'm sure you get this all the time, but when I go live, I always get the question of like, what should my macros be? And I straight up tell them, and I'm not trying to gatekeep. Like, I would need to literally know who you are. Like,
Yeah,
I would need to know your diet history, your train history. I would need to know like literally more about you because, like, for example, my fear of carbs. Like, what if you have a fear of carbs?
exactly.
But we need to gradually build that up. So it's very interesting. Just the direction of fitness as a whole. It's like where we're at. We've taken the time to gain knowledge, and
Mhm,
we didn't start this way. We literally went through our thing to get there, but it really is not black and white. It's
mhm.
it's very nuance driven, and that can be very confusing for a lot of people because like where do you
Exactly.
start? Like where do you start? It's crazy.
Exactly. Something that I love to do is I love to pick. It's part of my OCD tendencies, which I'm not proud of when it comes to picking myself apart. But the the positive of picking tendencies is I love to pick at people's mental state when it comes to good, bad, those types of things where like, oh, I ate bad foods. What's bad mean? What does bad mean to you? Oh,
Yeah,
I ate a burger and fry. Why was that bad? Well, because they're bad for you. Says who? Like, I love to pick at it so that way you can bust through those barriers. And it's hard, right? Like,
it's very
I
hard.
swear to God, like 5, 6 years ago, you probably could have robbed a bank with a bagel because of how scared people were of gluten. And it's like, unless you have celiacs or an autoimmune disease, like, you probably don't need to be eating gluten. Now, that's not to say that you go vegan and buy a bag of Vital Wheat gluten and start making nuggies. Because I did that shit because I was like, oh, meat's bad for you. Like any type of black and white dichotomy, I have done. Like, and I'm
Yeah,
telling you, at least when it comes to your nutrition, eat the rainbow. Like, it's not
yeah,
black and white, it's rainbow. Now, again, it's not to say that you yourself, depending upon where you're at in your journey, let's say you have diabetes or insulin resistant. Okay, you know what? I'm probably not going to start you off with 400 grams of carbs because that's what I eat right now.
yeah,
But doesn't mean we can't get you less insulin resistant and better metabolically healthy. But again, it's like it's so important to get the history, get the context, create the future.
yeah,
And it takes a lot of time and it takes so much mental energy to rewire your brain. But that is the best form of investment, I would say therapy and then some type of coaching. Because when you are being pushed and challenged and you grow, that inner shit, no one can take that away from you. And that's where you find that better balance or permission or however you want to phrase it to live your life in a way that actually isn't an extension of not who you were, but who you want to be and who you are.
yeah. That's beautifully said. Yeah, literally. I mean, honest to God, I learned so much from the coaches that I've hired, and
Mhm.
they became mentors, almost like life coaches in a way. Because for me, fitness and health, it's a passion. I love it. I think it's fascinating, but it's one of those things where you're trying to learn about yourself. You're literally trying to learn about what works best for you and how do you apply this knowledge. And sometimes having some like a teacher, I mean, literally like a coach or professor, whatever you want to call it, to guide you through this. I mean, the best professors I've ever had were the ones that I spoke to on a
Mhm.
daily basis, or at least when I had class on a daily basis. And, it was the teachers that didn't allow me to do that, where I kind of didn't do the best. But,
Exactly.
you know, knowledge is, I forget who said this, but knowledge is more so about clickable power, not necessarily how much information you can retain, but rather out of that information, how can you actually apply this to your life? Because sometimes, at least for me in the beginning, and I imagine it's probably the same case now, where there is information overload like crazy. And it's not bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's nice that there's a lot of information out there, but if you don't know what information to apply to yourself, it can be overwhelming. And then the and the ironic thing is that for the most part, it's pretty usually a simple change that leads to great results. So it's pretty wild. Yeah. Like, you almost need a coach can be a guiding light, and it gets in the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of the thing is also rooted in self awareness
Yeah.
because you need the context as a coach, but then you need the self awareness as a client or an athlete, right? And when it comes to that information, you can't pick information that only resonates with you and cherry pick it. Let me give an
It's
example.
great.
How many times have we said ourselves or maybe heard or seen where a walk after eating can help with nutrient partitioning, blood glucose, digestion? So we have someone who is overweight, maybe borderline diabetic, take that advice and walks with it, see great results. They feel better, digestion's better, A1C is lower, fasting blood glucose is better. Like I got to get off like metformin, for example, a great win for that. Now you take someone who's addicted to exercise, who can't sit down for more than 10 minutes because they're sitting on their ass, they're being lazy. They take that advice. Oh, I have to walk even more so that way my digestion's good, ignoring the fact that they're already pissing out their ass because of how stressed they are from overactivity. That piece of relatively harmless advice of walk 10 minutes after eating takes their steps from 25,000 now to 30,000. Okay, neutral advice, but applied very poorly or really magnificently, depending upon who you are and what your context is.
Yeah, that is actually a brilliant example. Yeah. And it's funny because how do I say this? It's yeah, because I guess in a way, I mean, I guess I was addicted to exercise, at one
Mhm.
point, and I was that person. I talk about it quite a bit on my lives on the talk, where I became skinny fat. I literally became skinny fat as a result of doing way too much at the gym and eating too little. And it was this combination of cherry
Yeah.
picking information where I thought, okay, like I have a fear of carbs. I'm going to listen to this person who's anti-carb. Oh, and this person is going to the gym 7 days per week. Okay, I'm gonna listen to that guy because I like going to the gym.
Yeah.
And I just like I was literally picking information that I just was like, hey, this aligns with me without considering the implications behind it. And so it's very interesting because to break that mindset barrier is very hard. It's very difficult, and it's part of the fitness and health journey. I mean, it really is. Like you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to be flexible. And again, this doesn't mean you have to change your entire life, but if you are doing something that is inadvertently, making you unhealthy, that does need to be manipulated a little bit. So instead of going to the gym 7 days per week, maybe go to the gym 4 days per week, quality over quantity. And instead of maybe, fearing just a certain food type, maybe we can start eating food that we actually enjoy and not having that fear of like, oh my gosh, I can't enjoy myself. It's very interesting. It's like fitness has become this blueprint. Like people are trying to look for a blueprint that will fit everything. But the thing is that everyone has a different blueprint,
Oh yeah.
and you have to literally dig deep with yourself to find it. You have to know yourself and allow yourself to change. But yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fascinating. It's so fascinating.
On my client intake form, I have a question where I ask them to help me break down like their week and their weekend because I want to see how they're spending their time. And of course, the big hitters: work, sleep. Maybe they include when they eat, um, gym, meal prep. And that's usually like the four, maybe five common themes. Like maybe they go to church or something like that that they've included. But what I'm looking for in that question is not necessarily what they're doing. I want to see what they're not doing. And
Mm,
usually what that means is they've neglected all hobbies,
yeah,
all fun, and no rest. Because when you neglect rest, especially, you're not giving yourself a chance to recharge, to refocus, and plan ahead.
yeah,
So therefore, you're running around constantly like a chicken with your head cut off, wondering why you feel so stressed and anxious all the time. And then to make matters worse, you're fucking on Kenny's TikTok for 12 hours a day, like listening to him talk about why carbs are amazing.
yeah,
And then you are walking a lot, you're not eating enough, you're over exercising, you can't go to sleep, and all you do is work and you're burnt out and you're miserable and you're depressed. Well, you're not resting. You're not giving your brain any type of way to recharge and to learn how to be adaptable and to be fluid. Like you're literally creating a prison for yourself, and it is so hard to break those chains, to take off the Fitbit that keeps you on house arrest, where you have to like constantly move, when in reality you're just kind of running away from yourself and your problems, because that's scary. It's scary.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's funny, I talk about this a lot where you should ideally have something fulfilling outside of the gym because if you are, let's say, going to the gym and you like it, you enjoy it because dopamine, neurotransmitter production's happening, right? And it feels good. It feels good to be healthy.
Yeah.
Pumps, like literally. Yeah, literally. But you're finding yourself there all the time because it's your stress reliever. Like you're stressed from work, you're stressed with really whatever. You go to the gym to relieve that stress without realizing that it in itself is a physical stressor.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you're compounding stress with stress, it's going to bite you in the butt.
Exactly.
And then you become frustrated because now you're like, why am I not getting results? I'm busting my ass and I don't look like I go to the gym. And it's exactly what you said. It's because you're not recovering, you're not resting. And so, like for example, like for me, I love video games. I love Elden Ring. I'm playing Wolfenstein right now. It's an old game, but like that is what I do for like stress relief. I really enjoy it. And then obviously, like Sarah and I, we we binge watch shows as well, like Game of Thrones. Like we're watching Game of Thrones right now for like the second time, but i- there's really nothing wrong, at least in my opinion, if you just have a day where you just Netflix it. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, then I mean, that's totally fine. And I used to think that I had to be active on my
Yeah.
rest days, where if I don't do something, I'm just a lazy piece of crap. Like I am literally like, what am I doing? But it's okay to do that. And if you want to do something, active, do it for the intention of having fun. Like, don't do it because I need to move. Rather, do it because you generally enjoy that thing.
Hmm.
And having that fulfillment outside the gym, it really can allow someone to step away from that prison, like you're saying, right? It inadvertently becomes a prison where the Fitbit's telling you to move, the Apple Watch telling you to move. You have that mindset where, oh my God, I'm not moving. I need to do something. It can release you from that and allow you to see the gym as a completely isolated thing, like a fun thing, but a beneficial thing, but it's not taking over your life type of thing. And
Absolutely.
you have these multiple just aspects to yourself. You're just allowing yourself to be yourself. It's weird. It's weird that fitness has transpired into this thing where, I mean, I fell for it. I literally fell for it, when I was younger, where I thought I had to literally do something all the time, but
Hmm.
that's literally not the case. It's okay. It's okay to rest and chill. It's fine.
In fact, I'd say it's necessary so that way you can
Yeah,
continue doing the things that you want to do. I mean, intention behind actions is very important to recognize. And again, it takes a high level of self awareness to stop, pause, evaluate, because it's a completely different thing. You see two people going on a walk. To your eyes, they're same activity. One person, oh, I want to go outside because it's been rainy the past 2 days, and I want to go outside to get some fresh air, get some vitamin D. Great, great intention, great self awareness versus the person that's got their Fitbit on, tap tap, got to get 10,000 steps by 8 a.m. Like, got to make sure my heart rate stayed within a certain way. Got to make sure I get 30,000 steps for the day. They're on a walk too, right? And it's again the mental drive behind why you're doing what you're doing. Not only when it comes to like how you move your body, but how you nourish it too, because
yeah,
the both blend seamlessly together. But the common theme is the intention and your mindset around whatever it is that your goal is. So we first started talking about like it being an extension of yourself, but you want to make sure that that extension is pure.
yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, like my why was because I hated myself. So, therefore, when I got my six pack abs, not really, but when I got my skinny fat result, I was just as angry and just as miserable because it was just still an extension of me.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah.
with Kenny, like he was a cyclist that wouldn't eat carbs, which to be frank, I ran and I cycled and I trained twice a day and I had like at least 100 grams of carbs. How did you cycle without carbs, dude? Like that is like that's the question of the freaking hour.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm actually very surprised I didn't end up with a thyroid issue. I have no idea how that happened. I literally cannot tell you. I was just so deprived, but similar to you, I was actually fueled by anger.
Ah,
And I mean, I just fucking put my headphones in and just went crazy. But yeah, well, actually, there were moments where I would binge eat.
oh,
So
okay, got you.
so yeah,
Yeah.
but I did fear carbs. Yeah, but I did binge eat, and that was the other thing. I had no idea why that was happening, and I remember I would get angry at myself about it. Like I would totally smash like with no effort, or it seemed like no effort, like a whole box, Honey Bunches of Oats, and like just like literally slam the whole thing with other like all like I would add nuts to it. It was pretty wild. But it was just yeah, I had a really poor relationship with food, very poor understanding of what was healthy. And it's funny looking back at it, um, I probably would have been a hell of a lot better at cycling if I had just nourished myself. And like you said, you know, actually allowed myself to, I guess, open up a bit
Mhm.
and realize what's my intention with this? What's my self-awareness with this? Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm very fortunate. I didn't get a thyroid issue. Very, very lucky. But yeah, crazy time in my life. I was riding like 21 hours a week, literally. So I would do 60 miles on Monday, I think a 30-mile ride on Tuesday, a rest Wednesday, and then I do a 60-mile ride on Thursday, and then an 80-mile ride on Friday. It was ridiculous. It was crazy.
Dude, we
Yeah.
were we were two peas in a pod. Like, I mean, I relate to that on a spiritual level, just because like I wasn't even like a triathlete, but I ran 40 miles a week, cycled over 100, like went to the gym, had a trainer, like I did all of the shit, and much like you, like I would eat next to nothing, but then have these binge fests,
Yeah.
which I mean, like, real talk. A binge fest is not like, oh, I like ate a second meal after like my dinner because I was hungry. No, I'm talking like you house a
Mhm.
family sized bucket of KFC, an entire box of honey bunches of oats. I've been there too.
Yeah.
Graham crackers and peanut butter. Like these whole 10K challenges that are popular on YouTube, that is child's play when you have a binge eating disorder. Child's play. Like I'm talking like my worst was probably 25,000 calories in a sitting. Like it was nothing. That is a
Yeah.
binge eating disorder.
Yeah. It was yeah, yeah, mine was pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say that what allowed me to break out of that, quite honestly, was well, this doesn't sound crazy, but I got hit by a car. I got hit by a car riding my bike, and I was perfectly fine. My bike exploded. Like it was pretty much an act of God. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I literally could not ride a bike anymore, and I had to find something else. And Sarah actually got me into the gym. So
Mm.
she introduced me to the gym, and it was at that time where I started to, because I'm curious. I like studying things and just finding
Yeah.
out things. So I started studying bodybuilding and started reading about just how to do that. And ultimately just kind of opened up with food and opened up with
Mm.
Sarah and opened up with just life. But yeah, if that didn't happen, I don't know where I would be, honestly. I have
That's crazy. Your bike literally exploded.
yeah, it was a carbon fiber bike. So at the time, it was so I'm not sure if you know what this is, but it was called a Time RXR Ultime. So it's a French made bike.
Yeah,
Basically, it's like a Tour de France level bike.
sure.
So it costs basically the equivalent of a small car. So there was just no way I was gonna be able to afford it. I was kind of,
Sure.
it was given to me as a kind of a semi sponsored thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but literally it was an act of God. Like it just happened, and I was forced to stop. It just
Mhm.
stopped suddenly. So, and so did the habits. The habits stopped with it too.
I mean, yeah,
So
it could be one of those things when you were on the other end of the spectrum where you literally need to hit almost like a rock bottom in order to just spring back. So that way, like, you get that wake up call because a lot of the times, like, you do need such a powerful force to kind of concuss you a little bit and to be like, oh, I need a change. Like, I need help. And sometimes it comes when you least expect it, but when you need it the most. And
yeah.
it clearly happened when you needed it the most.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's a saying where every breakdown or every breakdown leads to a breakthrough,
Mhm.
and that, I mean, that was literally, I guess, a breakdown. Yeah, and I definitely needed it for sure. But it's yeah, sometimes stress, sometimes struggles, they can teach you grand lessons. It's just up to you to figure out if you want to take that lesson to the heart or you just keep ignoring it. I chose to not ignore at that point and just change and become better, you know. But it was yeah, very interesting stuff. Yeah, man. Haven't told that story in a long time.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's nuts.
yeah, yeah. It was pretty wild. Yeah, someone I was going about, wasn't too fast. I was going about 20 miles per hour, just a training ride, and someone pulled out in front of me like a left turn, and it was just too late. I couldn't stop the bike. I went right into her wheel well, flipped over on the other side of the car, fell on my bike, and carbon fiber shards just went everywhere. It was just everywhere. And it's funny enough, I immediately got up from the street because I'm like, where's my bike? And then I saw it on the other side, and as soon as I saw it was exploded, I just like collapsed. I like fainted. like yeah, literally
Oh, my stars.
yeah, literally, yeah. And then next thing you know, there's an ambulance, and yeah, it was funny,
You're like,
but
not me, the bike.
yeah,
The bike.
literally, where's my bike? Yeah, who gives a shit about me? Where's my bike?
Oh my
Yeah,
god. You're like, get out
uh,
the paddles. You know what I'm saying? Like, jump that bitch. That's
yeah,
crazy. That
yeah.
is so crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. It's funny because talking about, I guess, being just a healthier version myself. I'm trying to get back into mountain biking, but I'm doing it now in such a way where I'm not going to go to that extreme. It's not fueled by this, I guess you can say, hate or anger. It's actually fueled by just wanting to enjoy it. So it's going to be very fascinating to see how that actually happens. But
Yeah,
yeah,
fueled by
it's
enjoyment and spaghetti this time.
yeah, literally, yeah, like totally plenty have carbs. Yeah. 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 I'll just call Sarah's mom, hey, yo, can you make that dish for me again? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But it is so important when you get to the point that both Kenny and I are at is when you enjoy something and it brings you like that fulfillment, that's how you know it's lifelong. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because like when it's fueled by self-hatred and anger, I've said this so many times in other lives, even to my clients, but I'll say it again just so that way you could hear it and you can spread my good word to the talk. But
Heck yeah.
self-hatred is not a clean fuel. It burns dark and it burns very quick. And it'll definitely get you a good solid 3 months of
Mhm.
progress. And then you stop because then it runs empty, right?
Mhm.
But the self love, the self fulfillment, the joy that you get from actually doing something that aligns with you, that does fulfill you, that shit's infinite. Like
Yeah.
it runs out when you expire as a human being. And like that could be another 60, 70, 80 years if you're lucky. So it's like take care of your health now, understand that no matter what you want to accomplish, whatever your why is, to do it in the right mindset. Because, like this title of this live is called, it is an extension of who you are. So, if who you are is angry, upset, fueled by self hatred, so will your fitness. So will other avenues of your life. And that's not a good look. And you're better than that. And you get to be better than that. And when you realize that, you can do this entire human experience out of a better space. Why wouldn't you want that for yourself?
Yeah. That's beautifully said. I could not have said that any better. Yeah.
Appreciate
And
that. I'm doing really good with public speaking,
yeah,
but I'm not on the talk. So make sure you take this and put it on the talk.
you should go on the talk. I think
Dude,
so.
no, I am just, dude. TikTok scares me. I am. It is too powerful. Like you talk about gaming, it's up here, and my like power levels down here.
Yeah. It's an interesting place, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that was beautiful. Seriously, that was really well said.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I could not say that any better. That was beautiful.
I appreciate that. Now I'm gonna nerd out with you. So you're into Game of Thrones. Have you ever played the game Bannerlord?
No, what is that?
Okay. So it is a place where you essentially acquire different kingdoms, different castles, and settlements. You can either be a sword for hire for other settlements and conquer other kingdoms with this person, or you can essentially level up your clan and create your own empire, your own armies, and conquer different settlements. But the only reason why I'm telling you about Bannerlord is because you can mod Bannerlord and make it Realm of Thrones. In which case, you are in the Game of Thrones story. Dude, are you taking notes? I'm giving you free, valuable information.
Yeah, wait, hold
Get
on.
out the pen and paper. Get
Yeah,
Sarah.
okay,
Get the cat.
okay,
Like,
go for it. Just say it again.
but there's this mod where you essentially can play as like a Dothraki, or you can do Knights of Watch,
No
where you can
way.
essentially play within Bannerlord, but you're playing in the Game of Thrones realm, to where you could be, fighting with Joffrey, or you can be fighting Joffrey. You can stop the Red Wedding. Like how you play in the game can dictate different things.
Dude,
So get on that.
first move would be axing Joffrey. That motherfucker sucks.
So here's the deal, though. Like, Westeros will be pissed at you when you interfere, and you actually will get banished. So what Eric did is he prevented the Red Wedding. He did all of the things to save, like, uh, the Baratheon guy. I'm sorry, I'm like not. I'm like
Oh,
into it,
oh,
but I forget all the
the
names.
Starks, the like the
Yeah, so like he prevented the Red Wedding. He saved he killed Stannis Baratheon,
oh, nice.
and then he
Okay.
saved someone else. But Westeros got pissed at him because you have to remember, we know that this was gonna happen, but they didn't. So they just think that you're killing these motherfuckers. And so he got banished, and then he fought with Daenerys, and then he got a dragon.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, dude. I
It's
was
actually
actually
pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. Well, wait, seriously, what is it
So
called again?
seriously,
I'm gonna write
so
that.
it's called Banner Lord is the
Banner
base
Lord.
game. It's called Banner Lord Mount and Blade 2.
Okay.
And then you can get mods and it can be Realm of Thrones.
Realm of Thrones. Okay,
Realm of Thrones. Yes.
I actually will check that out. I'm not kidding.
You will love it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, because I am really into. Have you ever played Elden Ring? Do you know what Elden Ring
Yeah, I
is?
do know what Elden Ring. Yeah, so
It,
I didn't do Elden Ring, but I did play obviously like I did like my whole Skyrim and stuff like that. Like I yeah.
oh,
I
yeah.
grew
Oh,
up gaming,
oh,
thank you. I grew up
damn.
with RuneScape.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
RuneScape. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. Look at
Yeah.
you, dude.
Yeah.
Did you play Zelda?
I did play Zelda, yes.
Like Ocarina of Time and stuff? Is that? Did you? Oh wow. Wow. Damn. Ash, I
What
had no
what
idea.
part of I was obese was that lost on you? Like I
I,
wasn't cycling while playing fucking Philip Alduin. Like
yeah.
I was fat eating Pringles.
Oh my God. Yeah, oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was the guy wearing spandex, just like fucking blocking the road.
Dude,
Oh
literally,
my
you're
God.
like fucking you're like, trying to defeat Alduin cycling, like trying to like
Oh my God. Well, damn, Ash, I would have played with you. I'm not to brag here, but I'm like level, what am I, level like 237 in Elden Ring or something like that. Um, my nephew, yeah, my nephew, he is ridiculous. He's like level 500 or something like that, and I got lost in it. So I'm
is
like,
he albino? Like does he know that sun exists? Does he go outside and touch grass? Like
what a totally you said that because I would totally yeah he's kind of yeah his name's Marcus yeah he's kind of a loser but don't yeah
Marcus, go outside.
hey Sarah, can you tell Marcus I call him a loser? Thank you. Yeah, sorry. That is awesome. Oh my God. Yeah, Marcus is funny. But dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I play games all the time. So if you ever want to if you ever want to join Xbox, let me know.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's very rare that I get to like actually talk like gaming stuff because it's like, I love Lord of the Rings. I love like, just like different types of things where it's like you might not think that someone like me would like it, but it's like I gotta really be comfortable with you to kind of like open that drawer because like there are some people if I like make a Lord of the Rings reference, they're like
Yeah.
just look at me like I'm alien. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I feel honored. It is great. Yeah, you can make all the Lord of the Rings jokes you want. You make nerd jokes, whatever. I'll literally probably know what exactly you're talking about. Yeah. I had a friend who in middle school, he actually invited me. So I think Return of the King was being released and the extended versions were going to be played like back to back to back. He was going to be in the theater for like 9 hours. And I asked my parents if I can go. They said, fuck no. And I couldn't go. But he went with his dad and I missed out on it. But I've watched like literally I've sat down and watched all the movies in order. It's awesome. So
Dude, yeah,
yeah,
that's
love Star.
part of our Christmas collection. Is like we'll start with The Hobbit, and then we'll go into Lord of the Rings, and then we do Harry Potter. So it's like all of
Yeah,
those things like moving through.
damn, that's yeah, literally yeah, same here. Yeah, Harry Potter,
Exactly.
Star Wars,
See,
Lord of the Rings.
hobbies. We
Yeah,
fitness,
exactly.
and
And
hobbies, just work
hobbies,
ones.
exactly. Very important ones. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I had no idea, Ash. That's awesome.
I know, I know. Like I said, it's very rare that I'm able to actually talk about it with someone that like gets it because it's just kind of like most people just don't do their things. Like they might be like into Game of Thrones because it was like on their streaming service, but like when you tell me that you play video games, I was like, let me test the waters.
Oh
let
yeah.
me let me see.
It's an ocean, so you're good. It ain't a pedal. It's an ocean. Yeah. Oh man.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Any final thoughts or anything you want to plug before we wrap this
Uh,
bitch up?
wow. Let's see. You can find me on the talk if you want to find me there.
What's your
Otherwise,
your talk
uh,
name?
it's literally just my same Kenny.Lipton.
Got you.
So, but I would say honestly, just I guess if I were to say last words of this, just make sure with health and fitness you're finding things that are enjoyable, like do something that's actually sustainable and don't do something that is eating away at you, like don't make the same mistake that I did. And yeah, just make it a lifelong thing, make it enjoyable, have fun with the journey, but yeah, also kick ass. But that's I guess that's what I would say.
Poet
Yeah,
poetry.
so eloquent. God.
I love it. I love it. Kenny, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your words of wisdom, and I appreciate the nice like dialogue there, and also shooting the shit at the
Oh hell
end.
yeah.
People like follow him on the talk, follow him on the gram, DM him for coaching, ask him about nerd isms, Lord of the Ring lore, and then keep up to date on his mountain biking adventures.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right.
And thank you, Ash, for having thanks for having me too. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My
Yeah.
pleasure. My pleasure. You take care of yourself, guys. Thanks to you so much for watching us live and tuning in, and we'll catch you next
All
week.
right.
Peace.
Bye.